Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the More Than I Do podcast. This is
Derrick and Cherelle with the More Than I Do
podcast, virtual live podcast.
Yes.
So you would think that this is our first day doing this.
You know, sometimes how days continue to roll and with things that we're working on, they come up really fast. So I can see how you feel like that.
So super excited to be with you here today. Again, More Than I Do podcast. I want to start off by saying a couple things. Number one, we're dedicating this podcast to our baby. She turned 33 today. So happy birthday, Casey. We love you.
Happy birthday.
And we want to say thank you to Jimmy Davies and Every.Black. That's a platform that this podcast you can find. So you just go to every.black. No.com. Black is the new .com. Every.black, and you can learn more about this podcast and other podcasts that's on that platform as well, and more about Every.Black. Outside of that, we are here today. It is Thursday, baby.
Thursday.
So that means that we must have something to say.
Yeah, 16 years married and 8 years in business. I think we've learned a few things that we can share, and I found it very interesting as we talked to older married couples who's been married longer to find out that we're not far off. So that's made me excited.
What do you mean we're not far off?
Well, some of the things they say about what makes marriage last, what makes business last. Those are some of the things that we're implementing in our everyday life. And so,
like what?
I'm happy.
What is one of those things that comes to your mind?
Well, one thing that comes to my mind is, the respect that we have for one another. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely one of the top things that come to mind. And the other is it's okay to disagree. Mm-hmm. You don't always have to agree.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot because I think that's a big key, right? It's a big key. You talked about respect. I want to go back to respect and talk about that a little bit today.
Okay.
Works for you?
That works for me.
Awesome. And I want to talk about it in the sense of what is perceived to be masculine roles and feminine roles.
Yeah. Okay. That's going to be fun.
Are you ready for this conversation?
I have no choice, but yes.
Okay. So now, when we talk about masculine and feminine roles, what do you usually think? And you'll probably go back to the beginning of our marriage because I know you. What to you was are you trying to find us on Facebook so you can share it?
I am.
Okay, because I'm like, hello, we're live. Hello. See, this is one of those masculine things, right? Where they tune us out.
No, but I'm here in the moment. I try to learn how to do multiple things at once like you do. So yeah, I'm trying to get better. So
but you're supposed to be like this, so they don't know, and
Okay, yeah, I'm not that good yet. I'm definitely not that good.
That's okay. You're getting there.
That's why. And so speaking of roles, one of the roles of mine is I always have to drive. Now, sometimes I really want to sit in that passenger seat, right? But the reality is she's able to do so much with this thing right here in that passenger seat that when I'm over there and I'm trying to do things, it's a struggle. And then I get myself car sick because my head is down and the car is moving. And so one of my roles is I'm the driver. I'm the driver because she's more productive in the passenger seat.
But babe, I remember when we used to have arguments about you having to drive all the time and me not driving at all. You remember that?
Of course, because when we're going places, we want to leave in a decent time, and then if we're at my family or even your family, we're traveling all odds hours of the
day and night.
Ungodly hours hours of the night. And sometimes I want to take a nap when I know that.
Okay. Let's be honest.
Let's be honest.
I could pick up the slack a little bit more. I'm gonna put it out there, and you got it on recording. I don't know what you're gonna do with it, but I'm just gonna say it. I could pick up the slack a little bit more. But
hold up. Is it Casey's birthday or is it my birthday?
right. I could pick up the slack a little bit more, but I want to stick to the topic at hand, and that is we learn quickly, right? Because we try. It's like, okay, you don't want to drive, well then sit over here. But can you send this email? Can you do this while I'm driving? And I still ended up driving and doing this. I was trying to be safe, y'all. So I don't do that now because he drives. But I'm saying I was had to do that because the multitasking wasn't working for you. It's not your skill.
That's right. It is not.
It's not your skill. And so understanding what those skills are, and you realize quickly, nope, number one, I need to drive because I'm nauseous when she drives.
Yes.
That might be a little bit on purpose, but I won't tell you that. That's just for you guys, not for him. Number two, a lot of times I'm getting a lot of work done in the car as we're going from place to place.
You are, and you actually sent emails from me as well.
Yeah.
I know one of my things is with emails, it takes me a little while to write emails because I worry about how it's being perceived on the other end.
Of course.
And so I'll write an email and I'll reread it 3 or 4 times before I actually hit send.
Yeah.
And then still worried that it's going to be portrayed out of context of what I'm sending it.
Yeah.
And so when I'm driving, she's actually able to send emails for me. And, you know, I always say, I'm the numbers guy. I like numbers. I'm not a words guy. I'm not big on words, but vice versa over here, she's very good with words and context. And so she writes emails much faster than I do. And that's some of the tasks that we can get done while we're in transition to wherever we're going.
Yesterday, I finished a contract.
Yeah, you did.
Shout out a contract right off of my phone.
Yep.
So, but I want to talk about that because a lot of times the other person takes for granted what the other partner or spouse is doing, right? And I think for a minute you were like, you should drive some because you sitting over there, but and didn't really realize how much was getting done. But on the other side, I took for granted how taxing driving is, and had to get better at being more punctual. Because if I'm not driving, I need to be in the car before the driver says go.
That's right.
Not the driver waiting on me, right? Especially if we're in ungodly hours.
Yes.
So that's one thing. What's something else that most people would think would be my role? Just if you would look at, and I know somebody will say there's no masculine and feminine roles, but just traditionally, right?
But they are.
In the way that we grew up.
Yeah, definitely. One comes to my mind is cooking. Yeah. You know, the first 8 years of our marriage, she did the bulk of the cooking.
The bulk.
Well, okay, mostly
all the cooking.
Okay, that's right. All of the cooking. All of the cooking. And when I transitioned out of corporate America, as we were starting my local CFO, I found myself home during the day a lot more, and I got into the Food Network. And before you know it, I'm the cook now. The last 8 years, I've been the cook. And I remember going home and my grandmother asking a question about, you know, how are we doing? Who's cooking? What you been cooking? And she looked at my grandmother and said, he does all the cooking. And my grandmother said to her, well, what do you do? And she said, I eat. But
she was not happy with me.
She was definitely not happy.
Love grandma.
But the reality is when you look at roles, especially where I come from, cooking is a woman's task. But the reality of it is I enjoy it. It actually calms me down. It causes me, it's almost like TV. TV for me is a mindless task. I think we talked about that a little bit in a previous episode. When I watch TV, I just watch it for what it is. When she watches TV, she watches it for a conversation, substance, things of that nature. Yeah. But cooking does the same thing for me. It kind of winds me down where I'm kind of just in my own kind of element.
Do not go in the kitchen.
Yeah. Don't go in the kitchen and don't ask me for recipes because I never follow recipes. I look at the thing, I look at what the recipe says, but then I kind of put a spin on it and make it my own.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, okay, so that's cooking for you. So one that people may think that I don't do in the house is I fix everything broken.
Oh yeah, yeah. Another misconception, guys. I have friends that I went to college with that live in the area, and they know that I grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
And just because I grew up on a farm, they think I can fix everything, that I'm a handyman. I'm actually not a handyman at all. I'm a tool.
He's good up here.
I'm
This
a
is his
tool passer. You
can read the directions. You're good at.
I think back to helping my dad on the farm growing up. Most of the actual fixing of things, him and my brother did. Now I passed the tools and I kind of managed everything, like, okay, let's do this now or whatever. But I'm not a fixer at all. And as I became a grown man, we installed a little play set in mom and dad's backyard for my nieces and nephew.
Yeah.
And who they say to go? They say give Derrick the directions and give my dad and my brother, give them the tools.
Yeah.
And we went at it, and that's my strength. Yeah. My strength is kind of managing the process, passing tools and directing. Yeah. That is my skill set.
So even when the kids get like Christmas stuff,
oh yeah,
who puts it together?
You put it together.
But this is like anybody's kids, and we're there. I'm like, oh, let me put it together. I got it. Yeah. And the guys are usually all in a huddle trying to figure it out. And I'm like, give it here, guys. I got it. I got this.
And I want no parts of that huddle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember something so distinctly. So I'm going to go back a little way. I'm going to tell on you a little bit, tell on me a little bit, but hey, we're married, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we're sharing.
In college, remember I used to come visit you? You were out of school.
Yes.
And I was still in school. Mm-hmm. And I had a girlfriend that was dating your roommate.
Yes.
We'll leave names out.
Please.
And we used to come visit you guys. Like, we would get bored at school. You guys didn't know this part, but we would like come back from a break and look around and be like, yeah, we don't want to be here. Let's go to Raleigh. And so we would drive the how many? The 2.5, 3 hours?
It was 3 hours back then because the roads wasn't 4-lane as
not
they are
the same.
Now.
From Elizabeth City State University to Raleigh to their apartment. And the funny thing is, and I laugh about this as we're talking about putting things together, because the apartment maintenance man thought it was me in her apartment because it's the only time things got fixed. Mm-hmm. It's when we came, we would go. So he only knew us, and you guys would be at work.
Yeah.
So he only knew us in the apartment. And so I thought that was funny to me.
Yeah. And my best friend who was my roommate at the time, I think he's a lot like me as well. We both grew up on farms. We know how to farm, work. We know how to work and work hard and do those type of things, but that's not the things that we really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And so we don't like to fix stuff.
You can figure it out. Yeah. If you need to, you can figure it out.
I can figure it out and get it done, but if I don't have to, I don't want to.
Even down to the car.
Oh yeah. Definitely. I have mechanics. I don't want to.
Even though I tell him what's wrong with it already, because I grew up underneath cars, he still goes to the professional. I don't know why.
Hey. Your time can be valued somewhere.
Oh, okay. That's a good one. Good.
But yeah, guys, like I said, I grew up on a farm, so I've changed oil in tractors and worked on tractors and things like that. But again, I do not want to do that with my own vehicle because I did it because I had to, not because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So the question is, why did I bring up the differences in what you think that I may do versus what he may do and that they're opposite? It's because, number one of the things that we realized in marriage is very much this. Your marriage is what you make it to be.
Yeah.
It's not your mother and father's marriage. It's not your grandparents' marriage. It's not the next door neighbor's marriage. It's not the person you see on TV's marriage. It's none of that. It's what these two people say it is to be. And that was a big aha for us.
Yeah.
That was a really big aha because no one, I mean, no one's giving us a whole lot of marriage advice. We got little things here or there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you pick up things and you think because you grew up this way and this happened, or you saw these things happen, that's the way it should be.
That's right.
You know, I say that because I remember that when we first got married, we almost got divorced over Reynolds wrap. Over Reynolds wrap.
Yeah, because it's amazing how your mind becomes trained. My mother always kept the Reynolds wrap in the pantry. No, she kept it in a drawer.
She had a little,
like in an island.
Yeah,
the island had drawers, and she always kept the Reynolds wrap there.
Mm-hmm.
And so my wife kept the Reynolds wrap in the pantry. And so every time she would look for the Reynolds wrap, I would go out, pull it out of the pantry and put it in a drawer, because that's where it was in my parents' house.
Yeah.
And that's where my mind was conditioned of where it should go.
Yeah. Yeah. And we went home one time back to his parents' house, and his dad had it. So it was a pantry this way, and on the other side it was a closet. And what his dad did was take that closet and extend the pantry. So it was a much bigger pantry than what it was before, because they were just home. They didn't need the closet, that type of thing. And I was in the kitchen and I was looking for the Reynolds wrap.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just looking around, and Derrick says, "Babe, you know she keeps it in the drawer." And his dad happened to be sitting there while we were there. He was like, "No, I think your mom keeps it in the pantry now since she has a bigger pantry." And this is years later after we've had this big blow up, because my whole thing was, look, if you're going to cook, remember the first 8 years I was cooking. If you're going to be in this kitchen and you're going to cook, then you can put stuff where you want to.
That's right.
But if I got to be here, I need to navigate the way that I need to navigate. And so that was a big thing. He's like, "But no, you're wrong. It goes in the drawer." And I'm like, I don't care where anybody puts the Reynolds wrap. This is where I always have kept it.
Mm-hmm.
This is not my first house. This is not my first time cooking. This is where I keep things. This is my way of doing things.
Yes.
And so it was so funny years later that we were almost on the floor laughing at each other, because it literally almost cost us a divorce over Reynolds wrap, because it was just that heated emotion of, mama ain't never wrong. Mama, I don't care who mama you talk about, they ain't never wrong. And then for me to come in and contradict mama and be so strong about where I stood, years later, we found out she kept it in the drawer because the pantry wasn't big enough. She would have kept it in the pantry. But I think that that's hindsight and perspective. And it takes me to something a discussion that we had recently, where I just stopped and asked, because it was making me mad. Now, this time we're in the kitchen and I turned the garbage can a certain way. Mm-hmm. My husband turns the garbage can a different way. Mm-hmm. And then I come back and I turn it back the other way. And then he comes in and this has been going on for years. And finally, I stopped this week, as a matter of fact. Mm-hmm. And I just said, "Babe, why do you like the garbage can this way?" Well, number one, it blocks the entryway into our dining room when he turns it that way. Mm-hmm. But number two, the way I turn it is up against a cabinet. So he explained to me why he turned it the way he did, and it had to do with sanitary and the cabinet and different things like that. I explained to him why I turned it the way that I did, because it's the side of the cabinet. It's not the front of the cabinet, it's the side of a cabinet. And if you have it a couple inches away from the cabinet, not on the cabinet, then the lid doesn't touch, which means that it is sanitary. And but it stops the trash can from going backwards, because we have the pedestal one. So you push your foot on it to pop it open. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of got to some simple communication. Simple communication. But I say that because I have a way of doing things. He has a way of doing things. And with that being said, we had to learn that even our marriage had to be our own, because we're two different individuals. He came from his mom and dad. I came from my mom and dad, and what other experiences we had until we got together. And so we have to understand that we have to make it our own and not be anybody else in our marriage.
Yeah, definitely. And it goes back to a lot of things that we've already said. Is what is the end goal? The end goal was we needed a trash can in the kitchen. even though I had a different methodology of where I wanted it to be versus where she wanted it to be, truly the end goal is we need a garbage can in the kitchen. And so don't get hung up on the how. Just remember the why.
That's good.
Because I think there's a lot of times you know where you want to go. I've even seen family, they have the same end goal, but how they approach it causes so much division that it puts the end goal in jeopardy.
So what we do is, number one is having that conversation, that dialogue. Now somebody would say, y'all had conversation over a garbage can? Yes, because how do I understand what he's thinking, or how does he understand what I'm thinking? Or we just gonna keep moving this, we just gonna keep dancing with this garbage can for years to come for no reason and be frustrated. He's frustrated, he gotta move it. I'm frustrated, I gotta move it. Why? When we could have a simple dialogue, a simple conversation, understanding that the end goal is we have to have this garbage can in here because we cook a lot and it makes a lot of trash. So we need something that's convenient, but what's gonna work for the both of us? And that is, it goes to who is best for what job. Who's best for the job? I remember when I got out of the shower one day and it wouldn't turn off. In the midst of that, we had a emergency with a client that we had to deal with. And I needed to go to the store to get this part, and we need to deal with the emergency of the client, and we have a shower that's not turning off. So Derrick went and turned the water off to the house. We went and got the piece, figured out what piece we needed and got it. And the game plan, we made a game plan in the car. All right, so we're gonna go get this piece. When we get back, Derrick, you address the client. I'll go up and I'll fix the shower. Why? Because I'm better at fixing the shower, and he was better in this case of handling the client and what they needed. So it was, again, common goals that needed to be done. And rather than getting frizzed out and chaotic and just, oh my gosh, I can't do all of this at one time, because what happens is one person tries to take on everything.
That's right.
When you have a partner.
You have a partner.
And it's just simple as communicating what you need to that person. And I find that to be one of the hardest parts in marriage, is just communicating what you're thinking or what you need.
Yeah, communicating and then trusting. You have to trust. You got to trust your partner.
I'm gonna drink your water. Go ahead.
Of course you are. You have to trust your partner. If you don't trust your partner, then why are you in a partnership?
Right.
You have to trust your partner. And so what we also realized is, I may not do things the way she does it. She definitely doesn't do things the way I do it. But as long as it gets done, what difference does it make?
Yeah. And who's the best person to do it?
And who's the best person to do it? That's right.
Who's the best person to do it?
Yeah.
I think that's key. And then you can, once you do that in your marriage, you can then definitely look at that in your business. It's the same thing. So Derrick is definitely 100%. I am traditional, even though most people don't think I am. I'm very traditional in thought. And Derrick is the head of this household. He's the man. He is the head of this household.
However, in the business, Cherelle is the CEO of my local CFO, because she's a better driver and visionary for the business. And so I commend her for that. And I appreciate that. And it is definitely one of those, like I said, one of those things where the roles do switch. She's in charge of the business. I'm the head of the household. She's the head of the business. Doesn't matter. Our end goals are the same. We're trying to build legacy. That's true. That's truly the end goal.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
Being on that same page to build legacy.
No matter who drives.
Right. But you have to be comfortable with understanding. And that doesn't mean that I don't get Derrick's take on things. And it doesn't mean that he just rules and it's a dictatorship and I don't get to say anything, because we're partners, which means that I have a voice and he has a voice too. But at the end of the day, only one person can make the decision.
That's right.
50-50 does not work. Because guess what? If you're saying yes and the other person's saying no,
Who breaks the tie?
I'm just saying.
Right.
And unless you got some other kind of marriage going on or partnership,
Partnership. That's right.
then that's something totally
That's
different,
something
right?
different.
But
That's
if you
right.
have an even number, it can't be even across the board. We had a question come in, and I think it's a good one. In the grand scheme of things, garbage cans and rental wraps are not major issues. Have you had any truly major obstacles to overcome? So I'm going to say this. Number one, I am going to a little bit disagree. I understand what you mean by, oh, that's just rental wraps, oh, that's the garbage can. But it depends on what matters to the individual, what makes it a major issue. Remember, I said we literally, I'm not joking when I say we were going to get a divorce because the arguments were so strong over Reynolds wrap. We had just got married, newly married. So at that time, okay, we look at Reynolds wrap now and it's nothing to us now, and we laugh about it. But at that time, we both felt passionately about our position, so much so that we couldn't come to an agreement, even if it was to agree to disagree. We couldn't come to agreement at all. So in that moment, that was a big deal. And in marriages, a lot of times it's not the big things, because usually you brace yourself for the big things. It's those small things that eat you and eat the marriage in a way, because we don't find out what's actually going on inside of the other person to understand. Once I understood that it was because his mother put it in the drawer, doesn't mean I changed and put it in the drawer. What it meant was, now we can have dialogue, and now I can understand where he's coming from, and then say, great, I'm not your mama. All respect, no disrespect for it, right? But that's not who I'm. I'm your wife, not your mama, and this is what I do. And have him understand my side of the view as well. Because before then, we were not having that dialogue, and it was becoming a big issue, like towards divorce, and we just got married, something that simple.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would tell anyone who is newly married, follow the scripture. You uncleave from your family or your mother, and you cleave to your wife, and you make it your own. Yeah. And while you have where you come from and your history as a basis, it does not have to be followed. You and your spouse can create what you want your marriage to be.
Yeah. So let's talk about what quote unquote people would call major issues. But I want to be clear, if it means something to you, it is a major issue. Definitely. No matter how small it may look to someone on the outside. Remember, it's just about these two. Period. Marriage, business. It's just about these two first.
Yep.
But let me think. Do we have any other bigger issues in our marriage? We've had issues, but I'm trying to think of something that because life brings whirlwind. So I'm not thinking about things that life brings, right? Okay. I'm thinking about something that was between me and you.
Well, I think for me, one big thing is I was a little bit stubborn and hard-headed in the beginning of our marriage. I felt like I knew what was right for us, what we should do, how we should do it.
The dictatorship.
Yeah, basically. I was really hard-headed, and I'm the man, you listen to me, this is what we're doing, whether it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
And, I had to kind of grow out of that. But that was definitely a major issue for me to overcome, because one, I wasn't respecting her as a person and validating her feelings and hearing what she had to say.
Yeah.
And two, I'm not always right. I don't always have the right answer.
Right. So it wasn't that who's ever best takes care of it in the beginning.
Right.
Right. Because it was like, nope, I'm the man.
I'm the man. I'm gonna do it. Yep.
But I think a lot of that comes from growing up and just the culture that you grew up inside of, and just you wanting to be responsible and step into that role. And I mean that with all respect.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That you just I saw that you wanted to be responsible and step into the wall. You just didn't have that kind of chick.
That's right.
But I was never that kind of chick.
That's right. But there are some women out there that would have just shrunk back and allowed me to just do whatever I wanted to do, or however I said we should do it.
Which wouldn't have been good positions at the end of the day for either one.
For either one. Yep.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we have a question that where is the garbage can now positioned? I don't know. I haven't been down there. He just got finished cooking for our baby. I call her my baby. It's my sister, but we raised her. And her girlfriends have surprised her, have flown in, and cousins have flown in, and they're doing a dinner for her tonight. And so he was asked, not we. Let me not even put myself in that.
I was gonna
this
say
is like the driving thing, right? Let me not put myself in there.
Let's be clear.
He was asked to cook, and he cooked a pork loin.
Yep. So I cooked the pork loin, so the garbage can is positioned away from the counter right now because I was in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But as I sit and think about that, with all the busyness that I've had this week, it's still a wonderful thing to have your own business.
Yeah.
Because I took the afternoon after a 1 o'clock meeting that ended around 1:30, 1:45. I took the rest of the afternoon and I cooked.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed myself. And if I had a traditional 9 to 5, and I'm not knocking traditional 9 to 5s because I had one for many years, but I was able to just kick back and cook this afternoon and enjoyed every moment of it.
Yeah, he did. I was asleep.
But
I was asleep, which is another joy, right?
Another joy you can take a nap.
Yeah, I didn't sleep well last night, and so I worked earlier today and got a whole bunch of stuff done, and I had a little free window, and I was like, I'm going to take a nap, which is a joy of having your own business.
It is.
I'll pay for it later because I'll probably be up tonight, but
yes.
I needed it. I couldn't go any further, and so yeah, that is a joy. We had someone who knows us that says, I think that Cherelle needing to go to California, which is what I did last year, maybe working out the garbage and Reynolds Wrap taught you how to overcome other issues that will be encountered later. 100% for sure.
Yeah.
A big part of our marriage, the number one issue that stands out for us, and we'll tackle this next time. But one of the issues that I think will be a good issue to talk about is finances. But it wasn't the lack of finances most of the time. It was just agreeing on what to do with the finances and how to move forward as a unit with finances. But I think definitely moving through that, navigating through the Reynolds Wrap, and then the garbage can just happened, and that's after LA, because for a while he had a whole year he just put the garbage can wherever he wanted to put it because I wasn't here. But I do think that California was major.
Yes,
California was huge for us in a lot of ways. But and I say that because I just a short end of this. We'd tackle this later, but a short end of this was my husband decided that he did not want to move to California, and we had some business opportunities in California. I wanted to live in California. I wanted to live in California probably 2.5 years before this opportunity came up, and I was probably supposed to move the year before I did. But he was content being here, being where he is, doing everything that he's doing, the life the way it is, and I was not. And so I made the decision to move to California without my husband. That was a major obstacle and challenge. It was a huge one. It was a huge one because at that moment, to save this unit, it was doing something that most people would look at and say, what? What do you mean? I'm sure most of the people that knew that, when they heard or you said that, oh, she's going to California, she's leaving and moving to California, no, I'm not going, they looked at us crazy.
They did.
I think most of them were waiting for us to just say we were going to get a divorce, or we're separated, or she's never coming back, or, they didn't say, how people, you could tell it on their face, but they don't say anything. They're just like,
it was the concerned look, but like, really, what's going on?
Right, right, yeah. And I don't think in this pandemic that we would be good had I not went to California.
I would agree. I would agree with that.
They might have been right if I hadn't gone to California. If I didn't go, it might have been a different story.
Yeah.
But that's because it's unconventional, right? It's what's best. And one thing that we've always said to each other is, whatever you need to do, I won't stop you from doing it. But I'm also not going to force you to do anything that you don't want to do. You know, the first thing we'll say is, oh God, because we're Christians. And so we believe in God. And if God tells him to do something or tell me, it doesn't matter if I agree or not. We like, if God told you to do it, all bets are off. Like, my hands are up, I wave the white flag, do what you got to do, and we just figure it out. But going to California is what probably put the cap on marriage is what we make it to be and not what other people say it to be.
Oh, definitely. Now, was it hard making that decision? Yeah. Yes, because you still have your feelings and your emotions tied to the situation. But the reality is, as Cherelle stated, we wouldn't be together if we did not do that. And you know how I know that we made the right decision, things just happened without a hitch. You know, she went to California and she was able to live out there with no problems and no issues, and things here in North Carolina still kept going with no problems and no issues. And I actually enjoyed some of the alone time because I believe even in marriage, you still need some separation time. You need to have your friends. You need to do some things that you like to do. And it's okay to do it by yourself.
100%.
Yeah. I kind of, you know, I laugh about it. I feel like I kind of rediscovered who I was without her, because it seemed, I remember having this conversation with myself when she was in California, like, wow, I don't even remember who I was before I said I do.
Yeah.
Because in my thoughts of what marriage was, I need to do everything with her. And so things that I thought that she might not be interested in or may not like, didn't even ask if she would like it or not, just my assumption. So I just didn't do it. But her going to California made me realize things I was missing out on, voids that I was still needing that I wasn't getting. And I began to get those things back in my life. I reconnected with some friends. And
he was going out more when I left than when I was here. I was like, wait a minute.
And realized that I actually needed that.
Yeah.
And she would have went if I would have asked her to.
Yeah.
I just didn't ask.
Yeah. Because it wasn't, so most people think that he stopped hanging out with friends and doing stuff because he got married and his wife, you know, that, oh, your wife won't let you go anywhere.
That's right.
It's not the case.
Not the case.
That's not who I am.
Not the case.
At all.
Yeah. So
it was his own philosophy.
So, you know, people talk about the massive move of her going across the country. The reality is there was some massive moves happening right here in North Carolina as well.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And we got new experiences that we would not have had as a couple. We got to date each other again, think of creative ways to stay in touch with each other and to be there for each other.
Yeah, because that, you know, that gets lacking, right? Yeah. You're married in business, and so things continue to bleed into one another. And not to say that you're taking someone for granted, but sometimes you're taking the marriage for granted because you forget to do the things that you enjoy doing and the reason that you guys got married in the first place. So, yeah. It
made me appreciate the things that he does do, like cook every day. Because guess who had to cook? Guess who had to start going to the grocery store? Guess who, if I was going to eat, nobody else was going to do it for me. So it made me appreciate those things that he did that maybe I had started taking for granted because they were almost like a given. Right?
Yeah. I'll never forget, you called me. You were literally standing in a grocery store like, where do I go?
Yeah.
what do I need?
Yeah, because I hadn't grocery shopped in so long. Nowadays, when he goes grocery shopping, I go to the Starbucks. It's horrible. I know. You guys can talk about me later, but I'm just saying. Or I'm just walking behind him like do like a little kid, or I might go pick something up and put it in the basket, and that's about it. Because he's so focused on what he wants. He knows he's intentional when he goes in the grocery store, and so I'm trying not to be in his way, and I really don't want to be there, to be honest with you. And so that's a part that I am glad that you took from me. I appreciate it because he enjoys it. He talks to the butcher. He learns about different things that's happening. He's got his certain places that he goes for certain things, and that he enjoys that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing that we're trying to get at today is, number one, you don't have to do a role just because someone says that's a role that you should do because of your gender or because of who you are or where you are. You do things because those are the things that you love. Those are the things that you care about, and they complement each other. Mm-hmm. Like I came in later on today and I helped to make the gravy. I added some lemon to the gravy. That's all I did. But I helped. Make the gravy is already done. Or I taste tested the gravy. But that was time that we kind of spent together, right? And okay, good. A way of supporting things that he was doing. Mm-hmm. We washed dishes together, I may wash, he may dry. I may dry, he may wash. Or sometimes it's just one of us in there and we just doing it all, depending on what's happening and what needs to be done. Mm-hmm. I think the gist of today's podcast is your marriage, your business is what the two of you decide it to be.
That's it. No one else, just you two.
But that takes communication. That takes understanding, wanting to understand and learn about the other person and what they're thinking and how they're feeling about certain things. And I think it definitely takes love.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Love is the key.
Love is the key. Listen, guys, this has been amazing time. I've enjoyed.
Wow. This time flies, really.
It does fly.
Wow. Okay.
It really does fly.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation with you again today.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah. Same here. Same time next Thursday.
Yeah. So again, we want to thank Every Dot Black for hosting us on the More Than I Do podcast. Make sure you check us out at morethanIdo.life. And again, check out Every Dot Black. It's Every Dot Black.
We love you guys, and hopefully we said something today that you can use in your marriage, you can use in your business, and make it even better than what it is. Until next time, we love you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.